Hi everyone, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and this is now part 5 of work on this Lancia Delta Integrale 16 valve from Italeri. It's a 12 scale kit, it's a big old model, and if you haven't seen the other 4 parts I've done of this, go take a look. This is not basically a build, this is just modifications, trying to make this model into something that you can actually touch without it falling apart, and a few modifications to improve the accuracy. You know, it's not like rivet counting, it's just like getting rid of, we've done about the boot lid. Let me grab the body out here, not the boot lid, we've done the boot floor. We've opened out the top mounts, changing the top mounts. We've assembled the roll cage and then cut it so that I can have these front suspension supports in there without having to, you know, glue that after it's been painted. Obviously cage all glued together, seams dealt with before it's painted, so it looks all good in one. Standard kit has great big slots in the floor pan here. Got rid of them, covered them up and sanded them out and everything. Assembled these mounts and glued them in rather than working to the instructions, and then gone round basically and fitted brass pins in our suspension arms. Let's get one of these out. In our suspension arms rather than the weak tiny little plastic pins that Italeri give you that are going to snap as soon as you look at them. So these have all got the brass pins in, as you can see now. So basically, yeah, and changing build sequences like assembling the steering rack so that we have a you know, a steering rack together that we can deal with the seams and paint, rather than doing it the way they suggest, which is gluing half of it in and then gluing the other half in. And also this way you can fit the column later, which means the column isn't in there hanging around ready to get broken off. This is all grey plastic in the kit, it's all painted black just so I can see, getting rid of all the ejector pin marks and everything. Talking about ejector pin marks, look at that. Hey? Phew. So basically, that's what I'm doing, is just basically modifications, trying to make the kit look a little nicer and, you know, bring it more up to the standard of a more common 12 scale model car kit, rather than being more like a bloody, this is worse than a lot of 24 scale kits, I think. But you know, it's a 12 scale Integrale. If you're not going to go and spend £500 on the Model Factory Hero kit, then this is all you've got. But if I had my money again, if I hadn't touched this kit and I could get my money back, I would get my money back and go and buy the Model Factory Hero kit, because yes, it's twice the price, but it's more than worth it. So we've also done work on the struts, and we've made aluminium struts and everything that have got magnets in them, so we're not using the epoxy little bits of plastic. So we've got the little plastic top mounts here. You can see here's one here for the front. So it's just like a piece of plastic with a spindly little bit of rod in there, and then when you actually put it in, it's like a prick in a top hat and it can all play around. So I've actually made these aluminium top mounts that have got aluminum if you're in the States, which is the proper way to pronounce the word, but they've basically got a turn shaft on them which is 2.9mm. Drilled these out 3mm, and then it looks more accurate as to the real car, but it's also a lot stronger and a lot less play. And then they've got magnets in there to sit into the top mounts and hold it all together. So that's all been covered in previous bits. So now looking on here, I've also modified the discs. The disc brakes in the kit are all going in the same direction, where obviously when you've got slotted discs like this, then the slots should be, you know, obviously the right hand side and left hand side should be opposite. So that's that. So basically, the disc goes on. Okay, so you've got this little assembly here. I'll show you in the instruction manual so you know what's going on. I don't think I talked about this in the last video. If I did, I'm sorry, but anyway, you've got these parts here that go together. So you've got this part that's telling you to put a paper clip on, insert a nut, and then put the this piece, which is going to be the CV boot, is going to go on there, and that locks the nut into position, as you can see there. So that's that there glued together. You've got the front and the rear. The rear looks the same as the front, it's just the rear is a little shorter. And also on the rear, the disc brake, I'll show you in a minute, the disc brake has a spigot diameter in it, so that with the front, it just goes through, and then the wheel screws up and pulls everything together. On the rear, it's got a diameter in there that this goes up against, so that when you actually pull the wheel on, you're pulling the disc onto this part. So it's not actually just pulling it all through. So basically on the front here, this goes through like that. We've got the front left here. I've marked the wheels up and you'll see why in a minute. And then the disc goes on. And make sure you've got the disc, the correct disc. The way the groove should be, I saw the way Brembo described it was better than me. I would say it has to go into the pad. Basically the way they describe it is the outer edge of the groove should hit the brake pad before the inner. So basically it's chopping into the groove. So this is the front left. As you can see, it will go that way in a forward direction. So there you go, that way in a forward direction. Okay. So this wheel's now going to go on like so, and then we're going to grab a screwdriver, and Italeri have given us slotted screws, which I haven't seen since 1937. We've got slotted screws rather than Phillips screws, so a bit strange. But you can see here, if I hold the strut solid, we can see that the wheel has got, let's get rid of that FL, it's distracting you. The wheel has got, look at that, it's a joke. So basically when you put your car down, the wheel's going to want to do that, and you're tight, you're going to have loads of negative camber. So if you want to tighten that up, there's a couple of ways you can do it. The problem being is in the design. Now when it's all together, I don't know if the drive shaft will help. I don't think it will, because the suspension is designed to work, so it's probably all going to have play in it. But the problem is you've got this strut here, which has got a diameter that this sits in, and the diameter is like, it's about 1 millimeter long. So when this goes in, it's got all this play in it. Let me show you that. It's got all that play in it, you can see there. And there's no way you're going to get rid of it unless you pull it up tight. So what we need to do is get something behind the disc, so that when we pull the wheel on, we're pulling the disc into that hub. So when it's rocking, exaggerated, what it's doing is this. Yeah? So if we actually take out that gap and remove any play, it should pull up tight. So I've got a couple of bits of plastic card here. In fact, what I'll do, I'll show you on the rear one, because I know that I've got the card sized to sort it. Because I haven't, this isn't just something I'm doing fresh off the bat. So we'll put that one down there. So we'll get the rear, this is the front right, this is the rear, here we go, this is the rear right. So the rear left I've done. So here's the rear right. So if I take the screw out of here, you can see we've got on there, you've got all that play. Okay, so we're going to take the screw out. And the reason I'm doing all this is because I want to get it all set up on the floor pan, put the body on, make sure the ride height is all good, and then I can build up my struts. And once we've got the struts, we know we can get the build up and everything done. Then we can go on and start painting things and actually start building this thing. So as you can see in here, in the rear disc, we have a spigot diameter in the middle that this actually goes up against. So when you clamp this up, when you pull the wheel down, you're pulling the wheel onto that hub. Okay, so with the front it just pulls straight through, but with this you can see it goes up to a diameter and stops. So when you tighten the wheel up, that's all done. Okay, so what we need to do is put some spacers in there to get rid of that gap between the disc and the hub. So I've got a 0.25 bit of shim, bit of plastic card with a hole in it. It's just cut square for now. So then that's going to go into there. We've got 2 little pins on the disc that have to line up in the wheel. So that's going to go into there. Tighten the screw down. I wish they'd use bloody Phillips screws. I mean, Jesus. Okay, so that's actually, there's 2 pins on the disc brake that line up with holes in the wheel. So there we go. So that's all done up. Okay, and you can see I've got a bit of friction there, but we've still got play in it. Okay, so I'm going to take that out. There we go, that's not quite. These bloody slotted screws make things so awkward. You've got to be so careful the screwdriver doesn't slide out the side and you end up cutting all the wheel up with the edge of the screwdriver. So that's the 10 thou. We'll put another one in there, so that'll make it 20 thou or 0.5. Okay, so put that on there. Put the wheel on, trying to line those pins up. There we go. Okay, so I can tighten that screw up now, the pins are in, and as you can see, if I tighten the screw up, oh god, if I tighten the screw up it binds up. Okay, I can turn it, but as soon as I undo it, it'll just undo the screw from that center hub. Okay, so there we go. So it's got rid of the play, but the wheel binds up. So if you're not worried about having the wheels turning, then fine. Okay, so what we need to do, so 0.25 has got slop in it, and 0.5 is too thick. So what we need is something about 0.35, 0.4. And voila, here we go. I've got a piece of 0.5, and I've sanded it down to about 0.38, something like that. 0.35, there we go. Okay. And then what I'm using for this big hole in the centre, I'm using a hole punch because I don't have any punches that go big enough. So I'm having to use a hole punch. So I'm going to go into here and then punch a hole through the plastic card. I've gone right to the edge, so it doesn't really matter, but I'll have to make another one. So I'll just trim that off there. Okay, and now I know that's about 0.35. So I can drop that onto there. Drop the brake onto there, put the wheel on with the pins lined up in the holes, just like so, and then do this epoxy screw up. And now you can see, if I put an ink dot on there, you'll be able to see. Now you can see that when I turn the wheel, the bit that it's bolted to is turning with it. So it's actually clamped up on that, and the spacer is just a shim to stop it rocking. So it's quite stiff, it won't roll off a shelf, but it can still turn. So if you want to position it so your tyre lettering's in the right place or whatever, then you can. But you can see there, I mean, it's come undone because it's a little too tight. But I can just sand some more off. And I'm going to have to sand a bit off anyway when it comes to it. When I've got paint on the disc, that's going to tighten it all up. But you can see, basically that's the way it goes. And on this front one here, you can see, as I said, they don't have that spigot, so this just goes straight in. So when you tighten the, in fact that's like a prick in a top hat. When you tighten the wheel up, it will basically pull, it's just pulling it all together. So basically what you're doing is pulling that into the wheel when you tighten it up. So so there we go. So that's what I'm doing with that, and then once I've done them, I will glue them onto here, and then they will be a shim. And as you can see, the struts obviously have their position on the car. Like that is the front left, because I know the steering arm is at the back. Okay, so I've marked the wheel as such because the wheels may have some difference in the back. The discs I don't need to mark up because the direction and the spigot diameter, so that can only go on the front left. So there we go. I guess I should mark these up as well. But there we are. So I'll get these done and then I'll come back and show you how it looks when it's all glued up and everything. Okay, so all the bearings are done, all nice and firm now. I've got no play in there, so that's good. The rear ones I've got here, I've taken them out so that I can get these screws in. So now we've got to assemble all this rear suspension dummy style. I'm going to get the instructions out of the way because it messes up the white balance. So basically, I've got the subframe here. Now normally we would have the diff in there, we would have the exhaust and the prop shaft fitted, although I won't fit the prop shaft until after this has all gone in. And then we've got some screws to go together. So I'm going to make sure this goes in the right way round. So we've got these holes at the back here, and obviously we've dealt with all the seams and given this a coat of primer. I don't remember if we'd done that in the last part. So that's going to go in there like that. Now these arms here are made to go into here. So we've got the copper peak, the 1mm goes into the here, and then you've got the thicker bit goes into here, the 1.2 brass rod. And we've also got these arms here going in. So these arms here go in with the shorter end towards the rear and facing outwards. So that's going to go in like that. That's going to go in there and capture that in there like that. And then, so we get that out of the way. And then the subframe, you're going to have, you've got these arms here. And the way to tell these, you can take them off the spoon, don't worry about it, is we've got two with a small hole at one end, like these two here in the middle, and then you've got, these two here have got a small hole in one end, and you've got these two here have both got large holes at both ends. And you can see on here, you've got the large hole and the small hole on part 31, and 30 is the forward one. So we're going to use the ones with the two large holes, okay, and I'm going to put that in that way round, or go that way round. So that's going to go in onto there like so, okay, and then the subframe will go onto there like that, okay. So that's that in loose like that. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we'll grab this one, we'll put this arm in here with this angle sticking out, and then that's going to go in there. I don't want to be off camera here. That's going to go in there. Come on, where's the hole? Right, that's going to go in there. That's going to go through the hole and then down like that. So we'll put that up out of the way, and then we'll get our other arm here. That's going to go that way round onto there. As I say, this is all dry fitting. This is all just dummy fitting. And then this, remember we have this piece that was broken off, so that's going to have to go in there. And then that will fit into that hole, and then the subframe will fit down into the chassis, just like so, and all that there now becomes solid. So then we've got this piece here and these two arms going on the back. So we've got this piece here and these two arms. You've got the smaller hole is inwards, so this is going to go into those holes there, like so. Be careful not to break anything. Okay, and then that arm's going to go in there. We've got these screws here again. We've got these bloody stupid slotted screws. It'd be so much easier if they used Phillips screws. So I should be able to get this out of the way up there. This is quite awkward on camera. So I've got the small hole. Put the screw through there. Put the screw through there. And then, oh God, that screw's not long enough. Okay, it's because I've got the wrong screw, that's why. So take this out of there, come on out. Take that screw out of there, go away, leave. Right, that's that. So it's the longer screw here I need. So let's just start again. We'll put that in there, put that in there. Wrong way around, Nige. That in there, that in there. It'd be so much easier when it's all being glued in place. Okay, and then we've got this arm here with the smaller hole on the inward end. So that screw's going to go in there. That's going to go in there. It's all going to go through. Come on. Why they couldn't get Phillips screws, I do not know. It must have been harder to get slotted screws in this size than Phillips, surely. So that's going to screw into there. And normally at this point, this would all be this little cradle here would be glued in, so it would form a bore for the screw to go into. But at the moment, whoever put these bloody slotted screws in this kit, go and find another job. Jesus. Ugh. And then this one's going to go in here. Okay, so now we've got that together, so that's that step there done. So we've got all our suspension arms in. Okay, and you can imagine here, this would have been on a plastic pivot here, and this would have been on a plastic pivot here, and that is like a prick in a top hat. I may well remove these copper pins and put some larger pins in, because you can see that has got loads of play in it. Or either that, or plug that hole and then drill it out to 1 mil. Right, so going over the page in the instructions, we come to building up the struts with the disc brakes. We don't need all that. And then we're going to be fitting the actual struts into the chassis with our, so this is this one here. So we should have some springs here. So we've got a spring, there's a spare nut in there. Let's put that over there out of the way. So we've got a spring there, then we've got a top mount. Now normally this would all be staying together because it's clipped in, because it's got plastic parts, but I haven't done that. So that's going to go into there, and the magnet's going to hold that in. Okay, and then we've got, let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in first. So we've got these little screws here, which are going to go into this arm here. Again, they need to be screwed in. If I drop one of these screws, I'm never going to find it in the bloody carpet. So that's going to go like that. So if I put that in that way, and I've got to try and get this screw to go into this hole. It's going to be easier said than done, I think. Oh Christ. Right, so that's gone through there now. And then that is going to screw into there. Just like that. Let's see how there's hardly anything on that. I'm going to have to change this screw. I think there's hardly any meat on it at all. Oh, these fucking slotted screws are a joke. Right. Put that out of the way, put that out of the way. Then we can drop the strut down onto its piston. That's going to have to go underneath there. So again, we'll have to take that out, put that like that, and then drop that onto its piston. Like so. Then grab some tweezers and pull that arm up there. And then we're going to put this down. We're going to grab a long screw. I bet this won't go through the hole. Yes, it does. That's going to go through there, come out the other side like that, and then we've got a little nut here which I'm bound to drop, but luckily we've got some spares. Oh Jesus, now you can see why I took the wheel off. Okay, so we'll hold that in the tweezers there. It'll probably go pinging out across the room in a minute. Try and find the slot in this pathetic screw. Just turn it and hope the nut picks up on the thread. I think actually, guys, it would be easier to assemble this suspension off the car and then glue it on. Oh, come on, for Christ's sake. Okay, so we got there in the end. Right, I remember, now when I did this, you had this bag and it said, attention, use this as nut 01. And the only trouble is there's only 5 nuts in there and you need 6. So luckily Tamiya came to the rescue with a spare nut from a motorcycle kit. And also this little spanner came from the Tamiya kit as well. So Italeri, Tamiya give you the tools and they don't use these pathetic bloody slot-headed screws. So there we go, so that's all that done. So now what we can do is fit the wheels back on. So this one is left. So what we can do now is put this wheel on here and get it lined up correctly with the little studs. And the whole objective of this, guys, is to check that the ride height is going to be somewhere handy. Now obviously I don't know how heavy the model is going to be when it's finished. So that is obviously not in the right place because that screw would fall into the centre otherwise. So we'll get that to go in the centre. I'll tell you what, I have said some rather nasty words. Words that YouTube wouldn't appreciate. In fact, words that you guys probably wouldn't appreciate very much either. Trying to get this together, it's been an absolute nightmare. Okay, so there we go. Now that strut top, I'm not worried because it's not fixed in. If you remember, what I'm going to do is actually fix the struts together and pull them together with a bit of cord or something, so they will actually get pulled into their correct position with a piece of cord, so they won't be all floppy. But I have noticed here, if you look, you know, it's all like a prick in a top hat. It's all got loads of play in it. We've got play here, we haven't got any play there. There's play here on the hub, you can see that's moving, never mind the disc brake, you can see the hub is moving. I take the disc brake off, you can see the hub is twisted on there, so it's all got lots of play in it. It's just not very good at all, really. You know, 6 out of 10, could have done better, must try harder next time, that sort of thing. So we'll get this wheel on as well. So that's gone in there. Pick up our slotted screw. Oh, this is a effing joke. Okay, so the wheels are fitted on firmly now. So we need to check that our camber's okay. We can see that we've got, if I put that together, you can see that we've got working suspension and it's all nice and strong. Put that one together as well. Okay, so we can see that it's all working nice and strong. And if I put it on the base, grab a rule, what I'm checking is that the camber's okay and everything. And we can see on there, if we look at it on there, we can see that the camber is absolutely fine. The outer rims are just not touching the raw, which means we've got a slight amount of negative camber, so that's absolutely fine, because that's probably how the car would have been. So happy with that. So that's going to sit down like that, and then we've got our working suspension. So now I just want to check the position of the wheel in the wheel arch, make sure that's okay. So we can fit the body on. Now, as far as positioning the body onto the chassis front and rear, you don't have much manoeuvrability. If I pick this up, it's all going to fall apart. But you can see that the body goes here. You can see that rear wheel arch there, the black plastic here. You know, that's just inside there, and then you've got that just inside there. So the body doesn't have much tolerance for moving forwards and backwards. So we can see there now, that's all good. Okay, just put that strut back together. So you can see there now, the body's gone up into the fucking rubbish in it. So there we go. We can see that fore and aft, everything's good. So we're good to go. And all is done there. What I need to do now is, once the model's made, what I need to do is get some height sorted out in it. So what I'll do is I'll set the height as it would have been on the standard kit by putting that cord inside. And then once all the struts are painted and everything, I can assemble them, and then they won't fall apart then. So there we are, that's the rear end done. So now I want to have a look at the front, don't I? And I think what I'm going to do is try and sort of strap this in somehow so it doesn't keep falling apart. I'll have to try and think of something. Okay, after much profound language and stuff, we've got the front together as well. So I've got these bits of tape here holding the pivot points in, and I've got these long bits of tape here because obviously there's nothing holding the struts together, they just come apart. And as I've mentioned before, if you haven't seen my other video, part 4 I think it was in, what I'm going to do is drill through the bottom of the strut and then put a piece of cord in there once it's all painted, and that'll stop the strut actually falling apart. It stops the end coming away. The standard plastic parts have those pips in, like I showed you before. You've got these parts here with the pip, and you're supposed to actually assemble the shock absorber like that. And then of course you've got a seam in there you can't deal with. You've also got a epoxy little plastic pip in there, but it does actually stop the strut from physically pulling apart. So once I've done that, I've drilled a hole in the end of the aluminum, and then I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom of the strut, put a piece of cord through, get the strut set to the right length, drop a super glue, and then it will stop it pulling apart. So we can turn this over now, and it should all stay together. Yes, thank God. And we've got rear suspension and we've got front suspension all working and all nice and strong. We've got good camber front and rear, so that's all good. Nothing's all loose and floppy. The back, as you can see here, you can see the amount of play we've got in here, and that's just on the suspension mount. So I'm going to have to basically do something about, I'm going to sleeve the screws or put some plastic in the bores and then re-drill them out with the 1.4mm drill, get rid of all that play, because it basically means your model, when it's sat there, the wheels go like that, and they're not all good. The front is pretty nice because it's all brass pins and everything, but what I'm interested in really is the camber, because obviously when you look at it end on, if I can show you it end on, what you want to see is the camber is good because of the angle of the lens. It's looking like it's got loads of negative camber on the front. It hasn't. When it sits down, it's sitting on the inner and the outer rims. If anything, it's got a slight amount of negative, which, as I say, it probably would have had anyway. So that's the main thing. It's all nice and strong. We've got the working suspension, and it's all good. And as I say, the only real reason I want working suspension is so that I can set the height, and also it helps have all four wheels on the ground. So there's the roll cage in place. So we'll drop the body on. Again, as I was saying, this is all about checking the position of the wheels and everything, and we can make sure that the body is in the right place. In fact, what does help to make sure the body is in the right place is having the bulkhead on. Where is the front bulkhead? Where has the bulkhead gone? Where be that bulkhead? In this bag? Yes. Bag of bits here. So that bulkhead is going to sit, take the roll cage out, bulkhead is going to sit in there, like that. I've managed to block one of the holes off with tape, never mind, it's still going to go in. There we are, that's sitting there like that. Then the roll cage can go in, sitting behind those cut off bars there. And then this can go on the top. Just like so. Get the position set, get the fore aft position set, and that's all looking good. There is no positive location for this body at all. I'm guessing when it's all built, it'll sort of find its own place, but at the moment it can just float around on there. So basically, I'm looking at that and put that wheel in the straight ahead position, and everything is looking good. You can see it like that there now. It's all looking good. When we steer the wheels, I don't know the way the kit is designed, we've got a lot of scrub radius on there. So, but you can see that it's all, this side on, you can see that it's all going to be good. So there we go, guys. But as I say, you've got this play in the body, but the thing to do is put your finger up in the wheel arch and you'll feel when the body's right, like that. And you can put the hood on, make sure the hood's going to go down over the suspension mounts, and it does. We've got suspension front, suspension rear, all good, nothing's breaking. So mission accomplished basically. It's all looking dandy. So there we go. How long have we got? That's been long enough, I think. So I think I'm going to call it a day for this video, because I just want to put this down now, because I've just literally, with these slotted screws and everything, it's just what you've just seen in, what is it, half an hour, 35 minutes or whatever, I don't know. It's taken me about 3 hours. So it's absolutely been pulling, what little hair I've got left I've been pulling out. So now that I know that is done, we can start now to actually build this properly and start painting bits and start bolting it all together, or gluing it all together, because there are no bolts. But I just wanted to make sure that, you know, with the mods I'd made and everything, that everything was going to come out all right. And we can see that everything is right. Even with it like it is now, it's the right height is good. I'm just wondering, with all the weight of the model on there, I mean, if I put the whole box on there, it hardly settles at all. So it's probably moving down about 3mm with the whole box. You've got all those screws and everything. So yeah, I'm not really too worried about ride height. It's going to be absolutely fine. So thanks for watching. I'll see you all soon for this has been part 5. I'll see you all soon for part 6. I think I'll carry on and do some of this, and then you can enjoy it with me. It's an awful kit, but I'm going to try and you know, make a silk purse out of it. So I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching, and take care, and everything else like that. Yeah, bye.